like if you got thoughts of hurting somebody, you know what I'm saying? Anything that's not of God, would be impurity. You know what I mean? Like anything that's going to taint our spirit, like, you know what I'm saying? Anything that's going to disturb us, like disturb the temple of God. So how can a man deal with a lustful spirit? So you got to understand what your triggers are, bro. You know what I mean? You understand what your triggers are. What are you feeding? What are you feeding your spirit? Now, look, I said when Markia Collier was on, when Markia Fagan was on here the other day, like 2 weeks ago, and I said, you know what? A lot of times we have our mouths open eating, even though our mouths are closed. So if you watching a movie that you have no business watching, you know what I'm saying? A movie where, you know what, dang, like maybe you can't handle the sex scene right now, bro. Maybe you can't handle the explore page on Instagram. Maybe you can't handle following the people that you follow. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Like, we're feeding ourselves with our mouths closed. Like, you know what I'm saying? That's when you find out that you can that you're able to eat with your mouth closed. Your mouth had to be open for you to have food. You know what I'm saying? So, and that's when a lot of that spiritual stuff comes in. So, number one, you want to have accountability. You know what I mean? Because I feel like, lust can be a soul tie. You know what I mean? I feel like that there can be levels of lust, because once you get to a certain level of lust, then you may walk into stuff like masturbation and pornography. You know what I'm saying? It all came from that. You know what I mean? Because, you create something in your mind. You know what I mean? It's all mental. And lust is very much mental. So whatever you're feeding, whatever your trigger is to start that thing, then look, you need to take accountability. Like, look, I can't get this thing off my mind. So what can I do? Because now it may have became a stronghold on you. Now you're lusting over every little thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, literally, like, I would be talking to like my homies, right? So my homie, like, say for dude, I ain't seen in a minute. And then, like, literally we talking, and as girls walk by, it's like, no, I'm telling you, I've been in conversation with men, and it's like, bro, you looked at every girl that walked by. It didn't even matter. I'm like, yo, I don't even think you into that. And you looked. Like, it's that bad. Like, it was that bad. I'm like, yo, this is crazy.
Yeah.
So, but yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. To actually piggyback off that, that's actually a good question. I think it's very honest, whoever asked that question. With the field that I'm in, applied behavior analysis, one of the things that we do is, in terms of therapy, is we have the ABC method, which is applied behavior. What is it? Antecedent, behavior, consequence. It's like the ABCs, right? So antecedent is pretty much creating your environment so that it's conducive for the behavior that you want to produce. So if abstinence, if purity is something that you want to become, just like what you said, is pretty much creating the right environment, not only having accountability partners and people that you can be completely vulnerable with, because obviously you don't want to share that with everybody. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. True.
Not only just having accountability partners, really, really make sure, just like you said, is monitoring what you have, come into your ear gate and your eye gate. I know for me, music was a huge thing. There was a time where I just loved my trap music. And I realized it was I realized it was not serving me. I realized that it wasn't serving the person that I wanted to become and the direction that I knew God was taking me in. Because, when I listen to certain songs carry vibes, it carries moods, and then it affects your behavior, right?
Yeah.
And so for me, I had to monitor my conversations that I kept, I don't need to have a conversation with a guy and tell a guy that I'm in the mood, that I'm horny. Like, I'm just not going to do that. That's not practicing wisdom. You see what I'm saying? Because that pretty much opens the door. So just like literally monitoring your conversation, monitoring what you're thinking about, monitoring, just monitoring the music, what you watch. And just like you said, the explore page on Instagram, that explore page, that stuff sits in your subconscious. It sits.
That explore page is the devil.
I'm telling you. And so, which also means your social media intake, like how long you're on social media, what you're watching on social media, because certain things sit in your subconscious, and then when it's fully grown, it's acted out in your behavior. You start acting out on certain things. So I think creating your environment is the most important thing, and that's definitely helped me out. So if you have problems with lust, whoever asked that question, that was a really, really good question. If you have problems with lust, then definitely make sure you are creating an environment that is conducive with the lifestyle of purity.
Yeah, and you know what? I got my man Arthur Burgess on here, and we're actually working on something. We're gonna do like a fashion show. We're gonna do a fashion show. Yeah, cause like he been doing fashion for like years. I'm definitely gonna introduce y'all. He's really dope. Him and his wife, like they're really dope. Dope ministry that they got going on. And we was talking, and I feel like one of the things I'm just thinking about now is that sometimes a lot of Bible believing people, in the way they dress, that you know what I mean.
A lot of Bible believing people.
A lot of Bible believing people, even with the way they dress, can be confusing for the believer, especially like the believer that looks up to them. You know what I'm saying? In the babe in Christ. So it's just like, yo, like what you mean, sis? Like, or like, yo, bro, like what you mean? Like, because at the same time of how a man allows his wife to walk out the door, that affects him too. Yeah. Because okay, cool. If y'all really one body, if your wife is impure, then you're impure too. It's not no more like no. You know what I mean? It's not like, oh well, so and so blah blah blah. It's no, both of y'all to blame. Because I feel like wife and husband should hold each other accountable. Yeah. You know what I mean? I agree. Or just like, well, that's my wife. You know what I mean? Now look, I understand. A woman, look, the word of God says that, that we are beautifully and wonderfully made. So we don't need to, we already know everybody is beautiful and wonderfully made. You know what I'm saying? Right. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So it's a lot to deal with. And I feel like sometimes it's either like, look, of how a person dresses is really like a lot of people don't want to touch it. A lot of people don't want to deal with it. But at the same time, you think about this though. For the woman that's married and that's, or the man that's married and they dressing like how, like, like really sexual, right? You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Now for the person that's single is still believing in God for a man of God or a woman of God. Mm-hmm. How would a real man or woman of God really be attracted to that? You know what I'm saying? I'm talking about like, no, like, if you got your butt out, you really like sexualizing purity. Like, like, I don't understand how God is really going to, like, that's going to be hard. That's going to be hard because it's like, yo, okay, God, I'm really trying to do better in picking out better women for me. Okay, God, I'm really trying to do better in picking out better men for me. But really, Arthur said people will dress how they feel, which is true. So, but I really believe in, it's not about you going out and you what, I want to plug this. Somebody sent a video to me last night, and I seen this meme too. So, but I think that somebody did a video on it, and they said, "Why do Christian men don't approach women in the church anymore?" And then there was certain things in my mind, like I was like, "Well, when did men stop talking to women in the church?" Because I'm like, y'all got all these stories about how men be pimping in the pulpit. They got all these stories how men are whores in the church, how musicians are whores in the church. Now, I'm a musician. You know what I'm saying? So, look, like, I know plenty of musicians that ran through some churches. You know what I'm saying? So, you know what I mean? So, I'm just like, well, you know what? But I asked Brandy that question, right? And I didn't like me. I don't like talking about relationships because I feel like a lot of people just don't really get the point. So I watched probably like maybe the first minute of that, and when the one dude he started blaming other women, right? So look, here's my thing. I have two top reasons of why somebody can be single or still is single, is not married. Right? Number one, the gift of singleness is your calling, and the gift of marriage isn't your calling. So you're not called to be married. Okay? Now that's a hard pill to swallow. That's a hard prayer to pray. Right? But that may be your calling, and you never prayed that, or you were never open to the calling. Right? Everybody not getting married. That's just the reality. Right? Now look.
Right.
Now look. It's some people that know they're not getting married, and they're comfortable in their singleness. That's perfectly fine. Right? I know people like that. So, and they're also, and my second reason is this, it's just not your season. So you can't, I was like, your reasoning for still being single is the opposite sex is not the blame. How you gonna blame Christian women or Christian men because they don't know how to act right? Your reason to be single. The reason why you're not married is because you're not called to be married, or it's not your season. That's it. And or if you're really waiting on God's best. Now look, I had asked. I saw the meme. I asked Brandy. I read it to her, and you know what? It was so crazy because she dropped this nugget, and she was like, "Well, y'all shouldn't be looking for that in the church anyway. What, you know what I mean? You don't go to church to get a boo. That's not the reason for church. That's the problem right there. So basically, like." I was like, that was like, basically that shut down the conversation. We don't go to church to approach women, even though that's the intention for some people. We don't go to church to approach men, even though good men are at church, even though good men are everywhere, even though good women are at church, even though good women are everywhere, right? You know what I mean? But that shouldn't be the intention. So we do things, talk about, a Christian date. Now, clearly, you think about Christian dating, you're going to date in church, which I think is an oxymoron. You're going to date in church, right? And then we talked about yesterday how the worst breakup is a church breakup. So, okay, cool. Continue to date in church and see where dating gets you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But yeah.
I love Brandy's point of talking about how you shouldn't go to church to find a husband. And I also want to say, I want to make mention of this. I like how Miles Monroe put it. I used to love Miles Monroe. So I like how Miles Monroe put it. Yeah, he's pretty dope. Well, he was, But I like how Miles Monroe put it, where he was saying how a lot of women make the mistake of, because they can't find someone in the church, a lot of times what they do is go out to the world, bring them into the church, and make sure like they get saved, and then that's when they'll give the guy the okay, now you can propose to me. I've seen it done. But at the same time, yes, the guy may have gotten saved, but shortly after they reverted back to their old ways. So one of the things that he also mentioned is, ladies, if you want to be found by a guy, you want to be found in the presence of God, where Eden is. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Not in the church, but in the presence of God.
Yes.
So you have to make sure that you're hiding, you're seeking God. And as you're hiding and you're seeking God, he's finding you. When I started the movement of Project Purity, God showed me a vision. Even before I started the movement of Project Purity, God showed me a vision. You'll be speaking at different events. And first of all, I don't like to be the center of attention. So I'm like, God, you sure you got the right person? But he showed me a vision of the direction that he was going to take my life. And Project Purity, serious about my purpose. When I got serious about starting the project, when I got serious about it is when all of these, I was getting approached by guys before, but, and they were guys in the church too, in addition to the world, they were both. But when I started my ministry, when I started the project, when I started my purpose, that's when they started like coming back to back. I'm telling you. So it's like, if you want to be found by a man and a man of God, if you want to be found by your husband. Learn how to get busy with your purpose. Find who you are. Find what God called you to do on this earth to do.
Come on, sis.
And seek that. Like, go after that. Because as long as you are making sure that you're operating in your purpose, God's going to send him to you, because that's what God realizes. Women, first of all, you should not have to be going out there to seek for a man. Whether you're going out to the world, you're going to church, you shouldn't have to seek for a man. You men love to chase after a woman like that. They love that chase. Let him do that. But while you're waiting, and I think that's there. I said this before in a video. I remember I was saying, like, there's a difference between occupying your time and waiting. So right now, I am intentionally single, right? Until God sends me the right person, and, you know, there's a confirmation on both ends. But
that's good.
Now, I'm intentionally single. So I'm intentionally working. I'm intentionally operating in my purpose. And when that time comes, then, hey, you know, I'll be ready for that. But me waiting, all I'm doing is occupying time. I'm not being useful, right?
Yeah.
So if you want to be found by a man, ladies, you need to figure out what your purpose is and do that. And then a guy men really, really, they're attracted to women who have their own thing going on. When you're constantly chasing up after a guy, oh, he's preaching over here, let me go hear him so I can be seen and stuff like that. If you're constantly like chasing after a guy, like after a while, they're like, okay, you're just doing too much. Like, have a seat. Men can tell that too. They know a thirsty woman. But it's so important for you to have your own stuff.
No, go ahead.
Oh, it's so important for you to have your own things going on. You know, like start start a ministry, like go after that. And as you're doing that, God will make sure your purposes are aligned, because I always felt like the Lord, when God blesses us with a spouse, they won't just be compatible with us, but they'll be compatible with our purpose.
Yeah, that's good. That is so good. That is so good, sis. You know, because it's like a lot of times we think that, you know, people that be like, well, you know, go out, date yourself and stuff like that. I'm not knocking none of that stuff. All right, that's dope. Do that, right? You can go out and still not be in your purpose. You know what I'm saying? Like, what's your vision too? Women have vision too.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But look, like, our thing is, now look, understand this, and this is probably real hard for people to really, I'm going to make this real blunt. I know this is going to be easy for people to understand. This is probably not going to sound that good, though. Am I wrong for saying anybody that's not your wife or your husband, could they be from the enemy?
I don't think that you're... Finish your statement. I'm going to say something.
Because, I want to ask it as a question.
That's a good question, though.
And it's like, all right, let me ask you, go back. If anybody that's not your wife or your husband, could they be from the enemy? Because your wife or your husband is only one person. It's not two. God only will have, because now look, I used to say, grab your hand. This is a handful, right? This is a handful. It will be a handful. And there could be a handful of people that's potential to be your wife. But I don't believe that we serve a potential God. We don't serve a God that's, that's the author of confusion. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. God has one person designed to do that big thing that he has for you. So, again, if anybody that's not your wife or your husband, could they be from the enemy?
That is a really, really good question. I see it both ways, and I'll tell you why I see it both ways. So for me, I've only had 2 serious relationships, right? My last relationship, my first about that relationship. I learned a lot about myself, but at the same time, I wasn't ready. I was young. I was like 24 when I was engaged. And then the one after was, I think around the time I was 30. I'm 33 now. So the last relationship, even though he was not my husband, I will definitely say he's taught me a lot about myself in terms of practicing love selflessly. You know, I'm going to just put myself out there. I was the type that I had very little tolerance. And when guy, and I don't know if it's because I had, you so silly. I don't know if it's because I had options or what, but I'm like, if a guy did something, said something that was like, I'm like, all right, well.
Yeah.
Till I realized, and I used to think, I'm like, okay, well, you know, I was one of those that would share those memes that, you know, like I don't need nobody and I don't need a man and all this stuff, until I realized that was only dressed up rejection. You know, I had a fear of being rejected, so I would reject you before you rejected me. And so just learning that about myself, he taught me how to stay in things, you know what I mean? How to like not be so quick to leave, not be so quick to be impulsive, learn how to practice patience. We didn't work out, obviously.
Right.
However, that was another thing that I learned that I didn't know until I met him. Now, I believe that relationships that are not relationships with our spouse that God called us to, I do believe that God can test.
Oh, snaps. What happened to Jessica? Dang. And she's about to drop a crazy nugget, too.
Can you see me?
Yeah.
Okay.
And your picture is like cool. Like everything's cool right here. Yeah, everything's cool.
Okay. Yes, Lord, let it be cool for the rest of this video.
Right.
But I can't even remember where I left off.
You said I do believe that it could be a test.
Yes. So I believe that certain relationships, you know, are not only there for temptation, but I do believe God tests us, you know. And for whatever reason, obviously it's something in us or to work something out of us or both. You know what I mean? So I see it both ways. I really, really see it both ways because, yeah, it's just, that's a loaded, my sister Shannon said that that's a loaded question. I see it both ways. So I'm really, I don't know. I think that every relationship, I don't want to say all of them, but there are certain relationships that I believe the Lord allows to happen.
Yeah, and I really like that because I was a dang. All right, we got 20 seconds left. I'm gonna end this, and then we're gonna come back.
Oh. Okay.
All right. Cool. Welcome back, everybody. So I was getting ready to say, all right. So I was a boyfriend twice, right? I was a boyfriend twice, and the crazy thing is, after the second time I was a boyfriend, that's when I was like, yo, like, I was like, God, like, look, I don't want to deal with anybody else, like, except for my wife. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I didn't want to deal with anybody else with my wife because I don't feel like I don't believe that I don't believe that God created us to be practice mates. I believe that He created us to be purpose mates.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So at the same time, that means I've met people. I've met people that's never dated. I've met people that's never kissed the opposite sex before. You know what I'm saying? You know, and it's like there's not some people like, oh well, you gotta get out there. Like you gotta. It's basically when people say, yo, you gotta get out there. Like you gotta practice. I don't think God designed us to practice. I don't think God designed us to literally be. We went out there and get into relationships from relationship to relationship like a punching bag, right?
I agree.
So even when we go into certain relationships, you know, so we discover certain love languages. A lot of people say, well, my love language, you know, in Songs of Solomon, it said, do not awaken love, you know, before it's time, right? So look, we awakened our love languages, right? And now your love languages is which one is it? Quality time, right? Now, say if your love language is quality time, right? Now you really don't know how to operate. I should say this because even though I don't believe in like boyfriend and girlfriend relationships, because it's a dating relationship, I will explain it like this. A lot of times in boyfriend girlfriend's relationship, they'll say like, okay, yeah, like we're dating. I activated the love language of quality time. And now, even though people in those relationships will still say, single till you're married. Mm-hmm. And another person in a relationship can still say, no, we together. Really, that person is thinking that y'all married. So that's why things get really confused because dating doesn't have a rule. It's like there's no rule. It's like you make it up as you go, right? Mm-hmm. We set our own rules. We move in together, right? You know what I mean? Oh, you wasn't checking for me when you lived at that apartment, but when I'm coming in my own house, you know, at 11 o'clock, you asked me where I was. We ain't had this problem when you didn't live here. You know what I mean? Right. Like those are some of the situations even statistically of how dating can elevate in those relationships, going to like especially long-term relationships, right? So when I was when I was a boyfriend twice, it was just like, yo, like God literally started to show me of how like, yo, I always had my best for you. You know what I mean? Even though we learned, now look, He allowed me to get in those relationships with, with the two girlfriends that I did have. He allowed that, right? But was it in His purpose?
Yes, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, okay, cool. Like, it's not in my perfect will for you to get in these relationships because I know the last one, I was real thirsty to have a girlfriend. I had my first girlfriend until I was like 23 years old. I was 23. Look, trust me, I had my first girlfriend until I was 23. Like, I was like, no.
I didn't come until I was like 21, so, yeah.
Now, look, Jessica, I'm going to tell you something. I knew about courtship before. It sounded real corny and boring. I was like, I don't want to do that, man. Like, get out of here. I want me a girl like everybody else. It sounded corny and boring, right? Mm-hmm. But now I got tired of being in relationships that wasn't that like, yo, basically, look, a lot of times it's like this. If you're in a relationship between 3 to 4 years, look, when you're in a relationship, right? And when we talk about opposite sex relationship that's intimate, right? Mm-hmm. Which marriage should be the goal, but sometimes the goal looks like I don't know, right? That is either the goal is marriage or the goal is to a breakup. Mm-hmm. That's it. Or 3. Okay, cool. Just a long-term relationship. You guys will never get married. You guys just act as though you married, and now certain things come to conversation because I would tell every dude that's like lives with his girl and his girl that said, look, y'all not really obligated to each other. Y'all not. You know what I mean? Your body is still your body. Your body isn't hers because y'all not married. So her checking up on you, it don't matter. Y'all just roommates, how people say. You know what I mean? You're literally just roommates. You know what I mean? You know, look, like a lot of times people that were, oh, like that sounds kind of harsh, but you gotta understand this. Dudes will say this. They be like, because with people that's like woke, if you woke, you'll be like, yo, yeah, we are just dating, and dating is with multiple people too. So really, you might just say, you know, some of them low key, like you can be in a relationship of polygamy and not even know it. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like literally, because the goal is marriage in his heart, but the goal not marriage in her heart. The goal is marriage in her heart, but the goal is not marriage in his heart. You know what I'm saying? So when God showed me courtship for the second time, he really dumped it on me like, yo, this right here is going to help you get to your best.
Right.
This right here is going to help you get to your best. So that's how I was able to figure out, like, yo, all right, bet. Like, I know, you know, basically one of the things that I do love about courtship is because, and I really encourage for believers to court and not date. It's because, especially for believers that really struggle, courtship keeps us out of trouble. So you know what I'm saying? Like it's a guideline to keep us out of trouble. Like, okay, cool. If you're struggling with certain areas, then why not let it? Then why not go this way? You know what I mean? Then you know, with the accountability, you know what I'm saying? Like all this stuff, what makes all these things, the rules of courtship, which I'm not going to all now, but one thing about accountability, you don't need accountability to have no girlfriend. You know what I'm saying? You know, like, because a lot of times, a lot of people, oh, well, we just going to figure it out as we go. And a lot of times you say you don't know.
That's the word. That's code for see.
Exactly.
And then that's code for if I like you until I don't like you, or until I find somebody else that's more suitable for what I'm looking for. Yeah. I agree with that. And even when it comes to dating or getting to know people, I think, truth be told, like if can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm laughing at the comments. My bad. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Truth be told, if you, God gives you a certain level of discernment for the person that is trying to get to know you. You know what I mean?
That's good.
And I'll give you an example, okay? Because I do believe that there is a way for us to still settle. Because when we think about settling, it's kind of like a negative connotation. It's like, oh, yeah, this person isn't as fine. This person don't really have this, but I'll settle for them. You can still settle for someone who is not God's best for you. You know what I mean?
Yes.
You guys can be compatible on a natural level, but spiritually you're not compatible. You know, spiritually you're unequally yoked. And I'll give you an example for me. And I thank the Lord for convicting me about this, because there was a guy that was trying to talk to me, and we have the same upbringings. We're both from Michigan, like just all these phenomenal things I just saw, right? And the Lord dealt with my spirit. Kid you not. Like, I remember how, and that's the beautiful thing about practicing purity, because sometimes when you have sex to cloud your judgment, then you don't think of things soberly. You don't really hear, like, you hear what the person is saying, but you don't pick up on their spirit as they're saying it, as you would if you're pure, practicing purity. So I remember the Lord convicted me so bad, because I just kept entertaining the relationship. And God woke me up like 2:00 in the morning. He was like, Google him. I ain't never had to Google a guy before, because I never really dealt with guys. No shade to anybody who have had a past, but and just had these like charges against them. Like, I just never dealt with those type of guys. But because, you know, and I assume like, okay, well, he has this going for himself. He has that going for himself. So having a past that he didn't tell me about, like the past that he had, I never would have thought. So the Lord woke me up 2 o'clock in the morning and was like, Google him. I Googled him. I was so shocked at what I saw when it came to his record that I had to call him out on it. I was just like, why haven't you told me this? Like, if we're getting to know each other, don't you think I need to know this information, you know? Yeah. And he was just like, well, I apologize because I know that. And he didn't want me to be like, pretty much be done with him. But, you know, God gave me that conviction beforehand that, Jessica, look at these signs. I'm trying to tell you, look at these red flags. So because you're not looking at these red flags, I'm going to wake you up. I'm not going to give you peace until you Google him. And so it took for me to see that. I'm like, okay, Lord, I get it now. I get it now, because now we're dealing with a guy that got secrets. We're dealing with a guy that got a pass, which no shade to anybody that got a pass, but at least let me know that that's communication, right? Give me that option whether or not I want to move forward with you. So, you know, I believe that when you're truly practicing purity, God gives you discernment, and he helps you see things. He helps you pick up the spirit of the person as they're talking. Yeah. You know, like you can talk to a guy, and sometimes God, for me, men will tell you what they think that you want to hear. But if you're not in tune with the Holy Spirit, there are certain things you won't really pick up in your spirit about him, because you're just so like the fineness just kind of glossed over everything, you know? Yeah. So, man, I really believe when it comes to like getting to know people or dating or whatever you want to call it, if you're practicing purity, I really, really do believe that God gives you a discernment about that person. Yeah. And I think that discernment, if it's a discernment like something's not right, God, I don't have peace about it, don't ignore that. Do not ignore that. That is the Holy Spirit talking. But yeah. You look. I want to shout out to the fellas. Look, fellas, you gotta understand this. When you're dealing with one of God's daughters, like I'm talking about one of God's daughters that's in the Garden of Eden, don't ever think that like I usually say, I ain't gonna say God is snitch, but don't think that he gonna tell on you behind. Don't think that he not gonna tell on you behind. Well, ladies, if you're dealing with if you're dealing with one of God's sons, don't think God won't tell on you. My first relationship, God told me when she was getting drunk. God told me when she was going to the club. And I called her out on it too before everything happened. Before it happened, she was scared to do stuff. Keep that relationship with God. God got your back. God is not going to let his sons just do anything and everything. Just end up with something that doesn't even recognize to be his daughter. Come on, stop playing with me. Yeah. Stop playing with me. You know what I mean? Like, look, a lot of people are denying Christ. A lot of these fake women of God, these fake men of God are denying Christ. You know what I mean? A lot of women of God don't desire, you really don't desire a man of God, because in their eyes, their man of God is corny. But I love this, though. I talked about how it's funny when you trust in God, right? And then God will have you fall in love with something you didn't even like. You thought he was corny. Now you all in love. You thought he was corny. You thought she was corny. Now you all in love. You know what I'm saying? Stop playing. Throw the list away and trust in God. Yeah. Me and V talk about how, like, I'm not even trying to be on those up type time. No, I didn't have a list. Brandy said, yo, like, I didn't have a list. What the thing is, before we even met, we trusted in God, that God was going to handle everything. You know how people say, well, you got to be specific with God and stuff like that. If God knows your heart, how specific do you need to be? God ain't deaf. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on. And they be like, well, be careful what you pray for. First of all, that we make that seem like that's a bad thing. Yeah.
God is going to put us in situations where we're not going to feel comfortable in. You answer the call.
Yeah.
Come on, stop playing with me. Like, y'all trying to, you know what I mean? Like, yo, don't be lying on God. Lying on, like, basically having this, creating this persona of him that's really not accurate at all.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Look, trust me. You know what I mean? And then we're not even going to get into preferences, principles, and the petty. You know what I mean? Look, trust in God for all that. If you and your purpose and your vision, God will align. No, your prayer should be, God, look, because a lot of times we pray for husband and wives like God is making them as we pray. He like, all right, Jess, I got you. Oh, you want that too? All right, cool. I'm gonna put. No, your husband is already living and breathing. He already exists. You know what I'm saying? Unless he's not born yet. It's like, no, I'm playing. I got you.
Wait a minute, hold on. Can't you go to jail for that? No. But I completely agree, and I agree with the whole list situation because I really didn't care about. Old school church women, but like I remember going to workshops and people be like, write down exactly what you want in a husband and all this stuff, and I found myself writing it down, and then I'm actually going to take a different direction with this. I found myself writing down exactly what I wanted, and then I had to look at that list, and I was like, okay, I don't even have this myself. Like I literally had to check myself, and I think I made a post about it recently. It was just like, in order for you to have standards, you need to become that first, But
I posted that. I reposted that.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That was good.
Anyway, they would tell us to have this list. And so for years, I went along with that list. I'm like, Lord, I need X, Y, Z. I need this and that. And then that's why I said God is not deaf, because number one, God already heard the fact that you desire that. If he put that desire in your heart, then yes, that's to pray for, but you don't need to remind God as if he has amnesia or he's deaf. You know what I mean? So I went from having a list to, Lord, make sure you're aligning me to be the wife that you called him to be with. You know what I mean? Like, align my life. So it went from him to me. I'm like, God, work on me first. You know what I mean? Because a lot of times we're praying to God for the other person, and we forget that we ourselves need to be developed in our singleness. So.
Right. I wanted to add this. Don't you mean you said you need to become your list? What's on the average black woman's list? 6 foot, dark and handsome, right? Are you 6 foot, dark and handsome?
Well, you're so silly. Well, see, my list was very different. You so silly. My list was, I wanted the guy to have a certain amount of money in the bank. I wanted him to own a home. I wanted him to have, I wanted him to be educated. I wanted him to. It was kind of like that picture book type of list. And when I realized, like, by that time, I don't even think I had my bachelor's degree. And not to say that every guy, when it comes to education, a guy needs to have a certain degree, but like at least some level of education, like some level of education or whatever. But right. It's just. I sat myself down. I was like, okay, Jessica, you need to sit down somewhere, because you are not, like, as you're praying for him, qualities and characteristics that you're looking for in him, he's praying for those same things in you, And so It was a very humbling realization about myself. And then I got myself together. I was like, okay, I need to go back to school. I need to do this. I need to do that. I need to work in my purpose. I need to do this and that. And finally, I'm at a place where I feel fulfilled. I feel like I've done the things that I want. And so now what I'm noticing is that it is like the type of guys that are pursuing me, I'm starting to reflect. Like we're reflecting each other. So I think that it shows, like, if you're attracting the wrong type of guy. You want to hit it and quit it. You have to figure out if you're reflecting that, if you're attracting that. What is it in you that they keep finding attraction in? You know what I mean? Because if you think about it, it's like you're the only common denominator between all of them. So, yeah.
Yeah. I want to add this. It was something that you said earlier. And I like how, remember the book I was telling you about, Choosing God Best?
Yeah.
That breaks down the difference between dating and courting. Mm-hmm. There's a part in the book where it talks about Messiah dating. And it's like this person, they think that they're the Messiah. Messiah dating.
Oh,
Messiah dating. Yeah. Okay. Messiah dating, it's like where you gotta save everybody in a relationship. Like you always saving people, right? Or like trying to change somebody, right? So I was talking to a friend of mine and he was like, yo, bro, man. He said, yo, man, celibacy is hard. And I said, and I didn't even know if he was celibate or not. And I was just like, well, what happened? So basically what happened was he met a young lady, right? Now look, this is what happened. Now look, we got to stop doing this. He met a young lady. They was sleeping around, right? You know what I mean? Like she got a daughter. He was playing stepdad. I remember where he had turned down a gig that, because he's a photographer. He turned down an opportunity to pick up her daughter from school. And I said, bro, look, it don't even sound like that y'all really something yet. And you took up something. You know what I'm saying? Like you really interrupted your purpose for something that's probably not from God anyway, right?
That's good.
So, and he was like, yo, man, celibacy hard. So I said, well, what's going on, right? So, me being, what's going on? I'm about to go in, right? What's going on, right? So he was like, man, like basically they was having sex. So now she want to start going back to church. Keep in mind, she was already in church, but she showed a different side of herself, though. You know what I'm saying? Oh, now you want to go to church. Like, now you're like, you trying to bring me to church and say, oh, we not having sex because now you feel bad. But you were the so-called Christian woman that I was having sex with. And now you saying that we can't have sex and you want to walk around the crib in lingerie? Of course celibacy going to be hard because right now that's what you call forced abstinence. And if you need to force somebody to be abstinent, then that's not the person for your life. If you feel like your girl not giving you sex, you know what I mean, because she want to wait, okay, cool. Yeah, go ahead, leave the relationship because you don't want to abstain. Like that's why I really tough. I said, look, if you want to take the life on from abstaining from sexual immorality, if you want to be abstinent, celibate, however you want to put it, you know what I mean? If you want to abstain, right, then it's better to abstain alone by yourself than abstain with somebody else. Because 9 times out of 10, the relationship is over. It's over because you know why? A lot of times sex has became so powerful. Sex was the relationship. You know what I'm saying? Hugging hands, kissing was a relationship. Yeah. The love language, physical touch that both of you guys indulged in it made the relationship, and Christ wasn't the relationship. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Brandy said you walking into a journey of blue balls. Exactly. You know what I mean? Yeah, she on your lap, but she not letting you hit. She on your lap, but she not letting you hit. Yeah, bro, blue balls ain't a good feeling. It's not. It's not. Literally, you will be walking away limping. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because your body wants to expect something else.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Like your body expects a release. And if you don't give it that, of course, everything backed up. Welcome to the backed up ministry now. You know what I mean? But like literally, you know what I mean? Like no. Like, all right, basically take it like this. Everybody familiar with a super soaker, right? Now to get a super soaker ready, you just keep pumping. You just keep pumping, right? You just keep. it needs a release. So you doing all this pumping and no release. Salty, Super Soak Ministry, Soldier Boy, yeah.
Oh Lord.
You cannot push the trigger, bro. You cannot push the trigger. It's over.
We just have to
only way you
water squirt gun. So
exactly. You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, it's crazy.
oh,
it's crazy, and you know it's salty, and you know what? And it's like, yo, it's really it's not a good feeling. You know what I mean? It's not a good feeling. You know what I mean? So it's just like, I feel like that's how when you know where it's like, yo, bro, if she can't sit on your lap, you need to let her know that. Mm-hmm. And I know you want her to. You know what I mean? Like, yo, like, no, I can do it. I can do it. But your mind gonna go there, virgin or not. It happened to me. We're right. Yeah. When I first experienced blue balls, because I was doing all the kissing and in the world, right? I struggled with that, right? You know what I'm saying? I was doing all the I was doing all the kissing in the world, right? And then I'm walking around like, yo, why my balls feel like this? What the heck? I'll be like, yo. I'm like, well, maybe it's just normal. And I was like, oh. You know what I'm saying? Oh, salty.
Yeah.
I learned the hard way.
You know you so silly. You know what I thought about as you were saying she was sitting on his lap? He discovered, I just feel like if you're saved, what would have attracted you to be, or what would have talked you into having a relationship with that person that's not saved? Like, I just feel like, what was he thinking about? Like, do you think that was a walk in the park? You know what I mean?
Well, he not saved. She is, apparently. So she was trying to take him to church and stuff. Yeah. So that's what a downfall is with a lot of I don't like to say
earlier though. How a lot of times women leave the church, drag the guy into the Garden of Eden, or drag the guy to church. And then
Yes, and look, that's one of the worst mistakes that you could ever do, because, like, no, sis, like, what you mean? Yo, I was hitting before you started talking about all this Jesus stuff. What you talking about? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, no, I should have saw Jesus in you when we met. We wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
It's salty, and you know what? It kind of... Go ahead, sis.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was gonna say it's also for women. What I'm noticing is women think that even in the church, women think that because I met him in the church, let's say that they don't even go out to the world. Okay, women think that because I met him in the church, that the church is in him. And they automatically assume, okay, we're equally yoked because he's in the church, not realizing that. And I can be the first to say that there were times where I gave guys the time of day that were in the church, that were in ministry, but the church was not in them. And so I feel like even in that case, I was practicing being with someone that was unequally yoked. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But thank God for deliverance.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Like, you know what? Yeah, like, one of the crazy things is too, like, we have an expectation. We have an expectation of people in church. So that's one of the reasons why a lot of people become church hurt. We become church hurt when we deal with people in the church. Like, if we want to, you dating somebody in the church, and especially if the intention isn't marriage or whatever, you know what I'm saying? Because if y'all break up, you most likely going to leave the church. Somebody going to leave, especially if it's a bad breakup. Somebody going to leave, and it gives a bad perception of church. So that's how we talked about earlier. The church is not for that. The church isn't a platform. If we really trusted in God, then we wouldn't use. Then there will be a certain extent of what services we utilize to trust in God. God is saying, trust in me. Why are we doing certain things to actually? Because at the same time, people, like a lot of women, they will say, well, I haven't found him. haven't found him. You're not supposed to be doing the looking. Right. You know what I'm saying? And even though, look, okay, I explain this. This is how you look. This is how you look. For every woman that want to know that wants to be Inspector Gadget, right? On finding a man, right? Now, being Inspector Gadget has never worked, right? So you gotta understand this. If you wanna look, if you wanna make it seem that though you're available, right? How Jessica said, she quoted my mom's Monroe, be in the Garden of Eden. You have to be in the presence of God. Adam was in the presence of God. Eve was in the presence of God. You have to be there. You're not in the presence of God if you're at the club. You're not in the presence of God if you're around people that you're being influenced by and they're not being influenced by you. You know what I mean? You have to be in the presence of God of how you talk and how you walk. You know what I'm saying? You have to be in the presence of God of how you look. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. All it is, and look. Because a lot of people, they be like, oh, you know what, I'm going to dress. All right, cool. Well, ask your Heavenly Father for permission for the ways of how you do things. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Now, look, here's the main key. If you want to be on this path, okay, God, I really want you to take control of my life. If you want to take your intention for God, I love how Silas Hamilton said, he said this. He came and said this like 2 weeks ago. He said, purity is not the secret to getting a spouse. So that's dead. If you want to live pure, you cannot, okay, God, I live in pure. I haven't had sex and blah, blah, blah. I haven't dealing with lust and blah, blah, blah. Where's my wife? Where's my husband at? No, that's not the secret to getting a spouse. Right. God's like, yo, who you talking to? You know what I mean? Like, well, it's not your season. Keep doing your purpose. You know what I mean? Like, what are you doing? Like, I got this. You know what I'm saying? But you got to be in the presence of God. So just like you being in the presence of God is doing what God told you to do. Are you in purpose and have you acquired the tools to work the vision? You know what I mean? You know, where are your tools? Because a lot of times our focus is only marriage. And we hold people hostage. We hold people hostage just because everybody that follows us can wait a while. Everybody, just because so-and-so is waiting or abstaining, that don't mean you got to connect with that person. Okay, cool. Be around like-minded individuals. Me and Brady would talk about this, I think, last night or this morning, about being around like-minded individuals. Okay, cool. But that's the only thing y'all might like-minded about is abstaining until marriage. Yeah. You know what I mean? A whole lot of areas a person could be struggling with, dealing with being a Christian, dealing with applying the word. Yeah. You know what I mean? You cannot connect with everybody. You know what I mean? You don't know where everybody at. Just because they're abstaining, that don't mean okay, cool, let's connect. Let's exchange. Certain relationships shouldn't go past social media. I don't care if it's man on man, woman on woman. You know what I mean? I'm not talking about homosexual relationships because we don't advocate that. I'm talking about just friendships. Right. You know what I'm saying? I'm talking about just friendships. You know what I mean? Because everybody isn't where you are. I'm not saying, have this wall up or whatever, but I'm just saying everybody not going, because everybody be like, well, I'm ready. I'm mindful of the person that said, well, God, I'm ready to be married. Oh, it is my season. I met somebody that was like, it's my season. She got in a relationship of what she thought God told her that was hers. They got in a relationship. You know what I mean? And you know what the saltiest thing that happened? They were in a relationship talking about marriage. He went away and got married while they were still in a relationship. Sis, you mean to tell me, how was that God? Yeah. You telling me that no, both of y'all moved out of season, so that's why that happened. First of all, I don't know. Get out of here. I can't believe that. Because now I really think that, because you can hear from the devil and you can hear from God. You got to know the difference. You know what I mean? Like, this thing is real. Y'all think God playing about your spouses? Why would God give you a potential best? Why would God give you a potential best? don't make sense. Well, God will not have his people in competition to be married.
Yeah. That's true.
It's not a competition. Like, people go out here and speed dates and stuff. What, man? No. Get out of here. It's no competition.
Yeah.
Let God be your hitch. Let God be Will Smith. Like,
I'm going to add to that, to the young women who may be on here that grew up in a church. I'm from Detroit, and, you know, with the, like, my village, like the people that literally raised me, especially the women, they never really taught us to, it's like, even with my mother included, we were taught how to be great wives, how to be great moms, but we never really were taught how to be great women. And so for years, I aligned myself with, okay, this is what I'm supposed to become. So, you know, this is what I pray for every time I pray. You know, this is what I think about every time I think. Just like that, it consumed me. So marriage consumed me so much until I realized how much I started to resent my singleness when sending my husband. And, you know, for women in the church, especially growing up, if that's all you're taught, it's a really, really sad thing, because it's kind of like you never really enjoy the time of singleness, and you're not really strategic of how you move in your singleness. You know what I mean? Like, so it's like, it's kind of hard for people, like, especially women, if you're born and raised in a church and that's all you really know, it's sad until you start realizing, like, there's so much more to life than training yourself or preparing yourself to become somebody else's spouse. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
That's really good. And you know what? It's the same thing for the men too. You know, trained to be great fathers and husbands. But where's, you know what, Dad, you know what? Before we even touch that, because when a lot of times when I was telling you this before, a lot of times when people, they will reach out to me, preferably more so women than men. They would like try to talk about a guy or whatever, and then literally the Holy Spirit would tell me, no, she needs to talk about me, her, and our relationship. You know what I mean? So I go back. I say, look, what's your relationship with God? And then look, since I'm telling you, I'm like, look, I'll leave on the phone, but like, look, all right, look, sis, look, we're not even going to touch the guy right now. Like, this guy is either he's not the one, or it's not the season. If it's not the season, then he'll come back when it's the right season. Well, you know, when it's in season. You know what I'm saying? When it's in, it's not season. It's not the season for that. You know, when it's in season, he'll come back. But right now, no.
Until we get to that season, let's deal with your relationship.
Exactly. So it's just like you're always in a season. The crazy thing is, I love how a lot of married people like to act like how they were never single. But you know what? A lot of married people were never really married to God.
Yeah.
So they were never they never had a chance to embrace their singleness. A lot of married people give single people bad advice because they were never single. A lot of married people give single people good advice, and the advice that they given, it was advice that they should have did before they got married. That's why a lot of married people say, yo, just wait. You really hear a lot of married people say, yo, take your time and wait, because they're dealing with something in marriage that, like, yo, I don't want you to experience this. Just wait, take your time, trust in God. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
yeah. I want to add something to that. You know, a while back, God dealt with me because, you know how, like, we have that scripture, there is safety in the counsel of many. But in the same book, it says that your faith may not be in the what is it? That your faith may not be in the wisdom of man, but in the power of God. So I completely agree. You know, a lot of times we just think like, okay, so what do you think about this? What do you think about this guy? And just like you said, we go to married couples and that God is our ultimate counselor. You know what I mean? So like,
Yeah, that's good.
If you want to get counseled on what's the best thing or the best direction for your life, seek the ultimate counselor. You know what I mean? Like, and what is it in Proverbs? How many are the plans of a man's heart, but it's the Lord's purpose. It's his counsel that prevails, you know? So I like how you said that, where you told her, you know, it's got, if that's the person for you, then that season's going to come. But in the meantime, what are you doing in the season? Like, what's your relationship with God looking like? Because as long as you're aligned with your relationship with, or not aligned, as long as you are in tune to the Holy Spirit in your single season, then it's going to bring you to that marital sync. Right. That's kind of singles. And I've done this too earlier in my singleness, was just getting counsel, getting opinions from people, especially married people, because you're like, okay, well, they're where I aspire to be. Right. But, and then you got to be careful. Like, you can't draw from everybody's will. Like, you got to learn how to seek counsel and not people's opinions, because if you're not careful, their reality starts to become your expectation. That's what you start looking towards. You know what I mean? So I just think we just got to be really, really careful with that. We got to be really careful with that. Yeah. I think it was last year. It was last year when I really started hearing. It was the end of 2019 was when I really started to hear. No, I'm sorry, May 2019 when I really started to hear good things about marriage, coming from married men and married women. Wow. I was 27. I was 27 years old when I started to hear that. It was a one dude, he said, you know what? He said, look, if I can do it all over again, he said, I will, and I'll marry the same woman. Those are the kind of couples that we need to hear from. He said you know what I mean? Okay, you said if he would do it again, he would have, or he would not have married the same person. He would. He said, I will marry my wife all over again. Okay. No. He said, if I can do it all over again, I'll marry the same woman. Oh, wow. He said he'll marry the same woman. And the crazy thing is, I was like, yo, I gave that man a handshake. I said, yo, I never hear married couples talk like this, ever. We always hear the jokingly like, you sure you will get married? You sure? Because you know what? Marriage is hard, man. Marriage is hard. You ever ask somebody about the relationship with somebody else, and they say relationships are hard. That's the first thing y'all say. So discouraging, and just so whack. And it's just like, yo, we're tired of hearing the bad version of marriage. Okay, we know what a divorce looked like by now. A lot of us grew up in them. We know what it looked like. Dang, but does marriage even work anymore? Does God's promise even work anymore? What are y'all doing to improve your marriage? Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Actually go, you know what I'm saying? Like, look, like at the same time, it's crazy because it's a lot of couples that, like, look, a couple opposed to a married couple would get counseling before a married couple get counseling. And they're not even married. They will seek counsel before somebody that's married. A lot of people don't want to get married. A lot of people don't want to get married, but we got to change the narrative. We got to show, you know what I'm saying? People think that, here we go, I hate this M word, millennials don't get married. No, millennials, there's plenty of millennials getting married all the time. People still believe in marriage. You know what I mean? I don't know what weddings that y'all saying, because you know what this is the same thing. My uncle passed last year, right? My uncle was like 58, right? So he never wanted to get married because he said people always got divorced, and he like a baby boomer.
You know what I mean? He never wanted to get married. So history never changes. People with the same mindset, it repeats itself. For the same reason, I was telling my homie, I said, look, the reason why millennials are leaving the church or not at church are the same reason why certain baby boomers aren't at church. It's the same reason.
Yeah.
It's the same. Ain't nothing changed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now look, black men don't cheat. Right? Somebody said black men don't cheat. LOL. I feel like